So, this wizard was late, but this information arrived precisely when you need it. My prediction on who our wizard is in the Rings of Power. Let's talk about it. All right, guys, Brent here back with variants, cover all things Marvel, DC, Lord of the Rings, anime, gaming, Star Wars, and more. And let's just break down this video logically, if you will. I'm going to start off with the least likely prediction of who our wizard is and work our way to most likely. That way you guys can kind of travel through the video as you see fit. If you just really want to get to who I think it is, it'll be at the end of the video. Can save you a little bit of time in that regard. But look, last week's episode of The Rings of Power, for those who are still watching, it was revealed that our dark wizard is none other than an Istari. And for those who are not up to date on Professor Tolkien's lore, let's just break it down just a little bit more for you guys. An Istari is an Istar is Elvish for wizard, and AKA there's only 5 of them. Very, very simple, very self-explanatory. The 5 wizards are Radagast, Saruman, Gandalf, Alatar, and Pawando. And if the last 2 don't sound all that familiar, it's because they really shouldn't. Gandalf in The Hobbit was literally like, I kind of forgot their names. It's because those were the 2 blue wizards. They went off the east and just kind of did their own thing. Just kind of disappeared. That was it. He doesn't have much memory of it. And just to start things off in terms of fan theories, look, I was entirely on this fan theory bandwagon for Camul. And last week's episode really ruined that for me. To explain, Camul is not a wizard. So he's automatically off this list, and I think he would have been a really interesting character to put on this list. The reason why he was so interesting, he was a mortal man. He lived in Rune. He was of such importance. Sauron, the Dark Wizard, decided to give him one of the 9 rings, that, the 9 rings for mortal men to die. He gave one of those rings to our guy, Camul, out in Rune. Camul eventually fell, became a ring wraith like everybody else. The only distinction between Camul and everybody else, he's the only one of the 9 whose name is specifically mentioned before his turn. The Witch King of Angmar was not mentioned who he was by name at all. Camul, on the other hand, was. Camul, however, in the hierarchy, Sauron, Witch King, Camul. That was the pecking order. So this man could have been of significant importance, and he could have been shown as our dark wizard here, and could have been an interesting turn to have what's going on, because, his home base of operation is Rune, and where everything's happening in the Rings of Power, also Rune. I was really trending towards that, but there's absolutely no way. He's not an Istari. Let's just move on to the absolute next one. The next one, who it's definitely not, Radagast. And Radagast is pretty obvious in this regard, because look, Radagast, when we see him in The Hobbit, is about yay tall. Our wizard, I know he's sitting down. He about this tall. Unless Radagast goes through the world's most strenuous and insane shrinkage in the history of Middle-earth, kind of like Tom Bombadil's importance in the Lord of the Rings adaptation by Peter Jackson, not really going to be correct. There's no way we're going to be able to shoehorn that in, or fan theory that, or try and draw some wild hairs and hope we're correct. It ain't it. There's absolutely no way in my mind that is our absolute wizard. And then also, I'm going to just cross off another wizard while we're going through our list. Saruman. And look, I know this wizard is giving straight up Saruman vibes. The beard, the delivery, the way he's operating business, the way he's kind of running things from a darker perspective. Yeah, trends towards Saruman, like near the end of Two Towers. However, our big issue is that Saruman, going from evil here, coming back to good, being the head of the council, with, Elrond and everybody else, back in the time we have the Hobbits and the Lord of the Rings, and then flip-flopping teams again during the Lord of the Rings trilogy, it just doesn't make sense. At that point, the character would be so muddied by that moment in time. It's just like, it's a little wishy-washy. It feels a little Acolyte-ish. Like, you couldn't pick a lane and stick to the lane. And just gonna go out there on a limb here. I know the Rings of Power hasn't been fully on board with lore, and Lord, does our comment section reflect that? However, at the same time, I don't even think they're going to go this bold of a route. I don't think they're going to go this far off the beaten path and try and shoehorn someone in here, let alone a character portrayed by the late, great Christopher Lee, who was the only member of the cast to have actually met Professor Token alive in his lifetime and got his blessing to play our one and only wizard, Gandalf. But again, he was given the part of Saruman by Peter Jackson. So interesting how that plays off. But again, I don't think it's Saruman. There's no way we're going to go ahead and get that going. I know Saruman traveled to the east at some point, but I don't think he ever set up shop in Rune. I didn't find anything in Tolkien's works to substantiate that he was there for a long period of time and made that work. Which leaves us with three possibilities: Gandalf and the two blue wizards. And I'm just gonna be bold here and say it's not Gandalf. I know people are so pining to have Gandalf in the show, and look, he doesn't need to be here. He adds nothing to the story. It is a name drop. It is nothing more. It is the equivalent of a Marvel Easter egg. It's fun for some people, but when you do it wrong, it's a pain for others. Don't do it, don't have it, don't need it. Gandalf, in all of his travels and everything else going on, the only wizard that he could potentially be is the wizard who arrived at the very end in the comet. Gandalf was the last one of the Astari to show up. He was late. Constantly. Kind of his shtick, but again, a wizard is never late. He arrives precisely when he means to. And I don't think he means to show up in this one. Just gonna leave it at that. Gandalf, not really feeling it. Not really feeling the vibes. He's definitely not the dark wizard. Is he potentially the other wizard? I'm also going to go on a limb and say no. I have another video from about a year ago to kind of chronologize that and talk about it. But look, the wizards who I believe is our dark wizard kind of ties in with our good wizards who just met, Tom Bombadil, and I think Bombadil was done well. Let me know in the comment section your thoughts on that. The blue wizard, for all intents and purposes, I think are where we're going with this. I believe they are the blue wizards. Alatar and Philando. You can kind of flip-flop whichever one it is. It doesn't really change too much of what's going on either way. The two blue wizards travel to the east. Rune is definitely way in the east, and it was covered in the Unfinished Tales and the Peoples of Middle-earth. Tolkien had the wizards, basically combating one another in a sense that they didn't really see eye to eye in the beginning, but eventually kind of came together in a step to kind of thwart Sauron's plan. So at some point in time, these two wizards kind of went toe to toe with the big bad and was just trying to thwart some of his plans. It was never like a head-on battle, but they were kind of playing, games of chess, and Alatar and Philando, for all intents and purposes, didn't really get the job done. But, and here's the big but, one of them went on to kind of become a magical leader of a cult, which, that's kind of exactly what's going on right now. They're called the Acolytes. And right now, the Dark Wizard is running shop. So for all intents and purposes, Alatar and Philando could both definitely be in play for either one of these ones. I would, at this moment in time, strongly suggest and strongly lean that our wizard is either Alatar or Philando. At some point, I believe they'll come eye to eye and realize the greater threat that is rising in the east, as our former Halbrand, now Sauron, is rising to power, slowly but surely taking form. Well, technically he's in the west of them, and not technically he's in the west of them at this moment in time, with his whole siege of Eregion about to be well underway. Those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? Hit me up in the comments below. Let me know what you think I got right. Let me know what you got wrong. If there's anything else lore-wise you want me to cover or discuss or talk about, hey, remember, hit that subscribe button, shout out me, let me know. I will be here tonight for the next episode of Rings of Power. We're more than halfway done with Season 2. Be sure to check on in and support the official content. I'll see you in the next one.